A couple of days ago, we got these rumors coming out of Disney over Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy retiring from the company by the end of the year. And I was a little bit skeptical over it because I had some questions about it. And also, we've heard these rumors time and time again over the last several years, and nothing has transpired. But because major publications were picking it up and running with it, I was thinking maybe there is a little bit more credibility to this story than the ones we've heard in the past. Come to find out, that's not the case, and I will get more on where I think these rumors started and what were some of the issues I actually had with it. This article from CNN was released shortly after those initial rumors, and even though those initial ones came from supposed insiders, this one's also saying it's from insiders that she is not retiring. Rumors that Lucasfilm's longtime president may be leaving Disney have swirled for quite some time, but reports that Kathleen Kennedy will retire at the end of her contract may be jumping the gun. Puck reported Tuesday that Kennedy, who is 71, is expected to step down as president of the storied production company behind Star Wars franchise before the end of 2025. Several news publishers have followed with their own reports, but a source familiar with the matter tells CNN that's not the case, emphasizing that there's nothing there right now. Any announcement of Kennedy's retirement, if indeed there's anything to announce, will be made public when actual decisions are made, the source told CNN. Lucasfilm did not respond to a request for comment, and a spokesperson for Disney did not comment for this story. So we were getting one side saying, we got insiders saying that she's going to be retiring when her contract is up by the end of the year. And this other insider who was saying, no, she's going to be staying on at the company and there's no plans for her to retire. Either way, I was saying back in my previous video that Disney needed to make some type of statement on this, because whether it's confirming or denying the rumors, you can't just let something like this be in the public discourse for so long without actually making any type of announcement. And they really haven't made an announcement per se, but information has been released that kind of set the record straight. And it's also where I think many of these rumors ultimately circulated from. Kathleen Kennedy sets the record straight on the future of Star Wars, including her retirement. Now, this is from Gizmodo, and they're talking about this interview that Kathleen Kennedy gave to Deadline several days ago. And now the interview was just now published, and what I'm talking about is a lot of these interviews, they're not necessarily published the same day that they're made. The interview is had, and then they write it up and do their thing with it, and then it's usually published several days later. And I think someone got some piece of information from this interview. They may not have seen the whole thing, and they decided to leak it and run with it. And that's ultimately where this came from. Kathleen Kennedy isn't retiring from filmmaking. She is, however, looking for potential successors to take over for her at Lucasfilm. That news and much more just broke out of an exclusive new interview with the Lucasfilm president. Earlier this week, news leaked that Kennedy might be retiring from Lucasfilm by the end of 2025. Speaking of Deadline, the prolific producer wouldn't put a timeline on it, but did confirm that they are looking for what's next. I'm not retiring, Kennedy said. I will never retire from movies. I will die making movies. And that's something I'm sure a lot of Star Wars fans didn't want to hear. It's like, so she has to die before she'll finally leave. Oh, okay, yeah, great. That is the first thing that's important to say. I'm not retiring. What's happening at Lucasfilm is I have been talking for quite some time with both Disney's Bob Iger and Alan Bergman about what eventual succession might look like. Now, imagine you're someone who works for Deadline, or you're someone who was privy to this interview prior to its publication, and you were talking to some person that you give information to in a media outlet. Puck was the one that released it. So they say, like, you're talking to your contact there, and you're like, yeah, there was Kathleen Kennedy did this interview where they're talking about her successor and other things like that. You're not necessarily given like the whole details or a transcript to them. You're just saying like, yeah, this is kind of what was discussed during the interview. And then the reporter is like, wait a minute, Kathleen Kennedy was talking about her successor at Lucasfilm. Her contract is up by the end of the year. Hey, it looks like she's actually going to be leaving by the end of the year, or they're going to be replacing her by the end of the year, and she's retiring. I can see that being what happened. Some of the questions I had about this, though, was a lot of the movies that were kind of in motion that she greenlit the Rey one was one that really stood out to me because we've been hearing updates about it pretty consistently. And even I think within the last month, we've heard updates that like, nope, they're still moving forward with this movie. We don't really have any plans as to what it's going to be about, but Daisy Ridley still signed on. We still have the director sign on. We just need a writer for it. I don't know if they still have a writer, if they had to replace him, but either way, like that movie is supposed to be moving forward. And that's one that Kathleen Kennedy herself really wants to see happen. And I was thinking like, well, if they get rid of her now, if she leaves before the end of the year, they're probably just going to dump that movie because no one else wants that to be made. So that was some of the issues I had with it, but it makes sense though that she's actually going to be staying on and at the very least see through a lot of the stuff that she wants to see be made. But like she said, she wants to die making movies. That doesn't necessarily mean stay on Lucasfilm, but she doesn't want to retire and just live out the rest of her life in retirement. She wants to continue working at a company, and most likely she's going to stay with Disney because I can't see other places hiring her as a producer or something like that, considering her horrible track record at Disney right now. We've been talking about Succession, as I said, nonstop for the last couple of years because for obvious reasons, I'm not going to be here forever. She continued. George Lucas asked me 13 years ago to step in. And now I'm looking at who's going to replace me. And then she talks about how much the job has grown since she took over with the emergence of Disney Plus and other things like that. There's been a lot more for the job. So she's trying to find someone who will be a good fit to replace her afterwards and kind of stay on course that she set. Now, this was a lot of the speculation Tuesday about this story about like, okay, well, who's going to replace her? And I wasn't really excited about a lot of the big names that were being thrown around. I know like Dave Filoni, Kevin Feige, those were ones that were coming up. And I wasn't convinced that they would be enough to turn Star Wars around and make it back to how Star Wars used to be. And I don't think there's really anything they can do. Not at least not in the short term. I was saying they probably have to shelve it for at least 5 years, probably closer to 10 years in order to, like build up some intrigue about it, get people excited about Star Wars again, because right now with what we've been getting, like constant flow of just content, it really hasn't been working. So what you need to do is put a pause on anything Star Wars related for the near future, and then have like this big movie trilogy come out of Star Wars. And obviously I think this should go without saying, but you don't need someone like Kathleen Kennedy basically dictating what the story is and all the creative decisions. I think you need to actually bring in some competent filmmakers and not just mystery box filmmakers who are just going to ask questions that they can never actually create answers to. You need better people working on the movies and what we've been getting in the last, since Disney took over Star Wars right now. And I'm just not really seeing that there's anyone not only who can manage that sort of thing at Disney right now, or who, out of the potential names that were being thrown around. And I just don't think that there's that people higher up within Disney who would be willing to actually do that sort of thing. They spent a lot of money on this property, and so far they actually haven't even made back their investment for it. I'm not saying their initial investment, but out of all the money that they've spent on everything Star Wars, like the parks, the movies, the shows, everything, and then all the money they generated from it, they're still actually in the red on that one. So I don't think they want to put a pause on it until they've actually started at least break even, and that could be sometime. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. So yeah, Kathleen Kennedy isn't leaving Star Wars. It's unfortunate, I know. I almost didn't even want to make this video talking about it, but I figured since I made a video talking about the rumors that she's going to be leaving the company, it seems appropriate that I also talk about this one too, where she's not leaving the company, and just kind of give people all the information and why I think these rumors started to begin with. So the lesson to be learned in this one is when you hear something, make sure you kind of caveat it with like, these are rumors. And if there is some questions to be had with it, or if there's some stuff that doesn't make sense, make sure you say that, as opposed to just acting like something is pure fact because other people are saying this. But let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share this video out there because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.